Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Oxygen Not Included. This is the Tubular Upgrade in the Megabase Challenge. So today, we're going to be focusing on adding tubes to the base here to optimize the flow of my duplicates throughout the base and reduce the amount of time I spend traveling and increase the amount of time I spend working. Now, I've been doing a little bit of work here inside of the base. Off camera. However, it wasn't necessarily off camera. What happened is the recording software decided to stop. I might have made a mistake at some point and then kept talking for about an hour or so. It happens every once in a while here, but the update actually came out today, which means all of kind of the software that runs behind it to take in all the data and whatnot to see what's happening is now left to the side. And what we can see here is right off the bat, I can see that the performance improvement to this game in this large base is quite obvious. Look at this. I'm up here at 45 frames per second. Check that out. 50 FPS, man. And let's speed it up. Let's go real fast. Look at that. We're still looking at over 46 some-ish frames per second. Yesterday, it was almost a slideshow when I was trying to record this the other time. At right around 15 frames to 20 frames per second. I was like, oh man, somebody send me a Titan V because I gotta crank up my processing power. But really, honestly, I don't think it's my GPU holding this thing back, nor my CPU. Speaking of which, I've got graphs and stuff going on over here. Check this out. Like all this stuff. Honestly, my computer's like overbuilt for this game, but whatever. You can never have too much processing power, but you can struggle to get it off the screen. There you go. Oh, here's a better graph. Oh, we're going there. If you're wondering, there it is. Boom. Check that out. Recording and Oxygen Not Included. We're looking at 39% CPU. I know you guys don't care about this at all. And GPU, yeah, it's sitting right around 18%. But if anybody wants me to send me one of those new NVIDIA Titan V things to test out to see if we can get some more frames out of this, you hit me up, man. I might even put your name on the screen. I'm kidding though. Check this out. This is pretty dope. I've been doing a little bit of work here just to show you what I did last time while you guys were not watching the screen, more or less. While I wasn't recording the screen and thinking I was, I did the research required in order to unlock the tubular upgrade components. And then I put some tubes up here. So one of the ideas is that I'm going to have an access point right here, and then you'll be able to jump inside of this area and do what you need to do. I'm going to get rid of this coal generator, and that'll be kind of the exit point. So you can kind of go in here, do what you need to do, and then get out. Same sort of idea with all the equipment right here. You can go in, do what you need to do, and then get out without causing much of a fuss or anything like that, and not exposing either chamber to bad stuff such as polluted oxygen where you don't want polluted oxygen to be. Inside of here should just be carbon dioxide and everything else could be gone, you know, and then over here ideally everything will just become polluted oxygen. So there's a couple of things that I have to work through in order to purify these areas so that they all have the right gases in that area at the time. The other thing I did is I went up here to the top of the screen over here and dug up some more wheeze-worts. Dug up the wheeze-worts and then stuck them inside of the cooling loop that is somewhere on the screen. There it is. And put that side by side. So I now have 6 wheeze-worts in this area, and I also got rid of all of the diamond shift plates. Unfortunately, the amount of diamond shift plates I had in there was just too much thermal mass in this. You know, they just could not change the temperature inside of there. It almost seemed like the diamond thermal shift plates were not working as intended, if I may be so bold. It didn't seem like that. And also I noticed last time I wasn't able to sweep up diamond, which was kind of weird, so I had to kind of like just move it out. Oh, and one other thing I changed here is that I am now running polluted water through the metal refinery as opposed to running the liquid, you know, the cold crude oil through it. Reason being is because I need to produce a lot of plastic, so I kind of needed to separate metal production and plastic production so that I can get a lot of that. As far as the power system, because this is all what we were talking about last time here, I've been putting in conductive wires pretty much throughout my entire base here to run all of the small stuff. And what we can see here is that for the most part, everything is hooked up on the new conductive wire. I only have one other path that I need to go on up over here to the liquid pump, and then all of that should be taken care of by the power system that is down there in the bottom. Now, they have updated some things as far as how the actual transit tube access points work. It stores power inside of it like a battery, 40 kilojoules worth of power, and every time you use it, it uses up 10 kilojoules, and it charges at a rate of 960 watts. So if we were to compare this system to what they had previously, where it continued to take in like 400 and some watts, what you'll find is that if you're constantly using the thing, like you're just every motion my duplicants were making inside of my test tube lab, I still use right around the same amount of power overall. However, when you put these in remote locations, honestly, they don't take a lot of power, obviously, because you just charge it up and then it sits there until you use it. So it's a big upgrade on that from that standpoint. I also did some work down here, obviously, because I had to do some wires. You know, just look at how smooth it is. Look at that. I'm actually getting use out of recording at 60 FPS. Okay, anyhow. Since I had to do some work on the wires right here, I kind of modified, well, this area here is actually in oxygen, but for whatever reason, the space heater is actually continuing to work, you know, and actually make more steam. I don't know. It's kind of weird, and I'm surprised it works, but hey, it's working. I'm not sure that I'm going to keep all this polluted water around, because right now it's kind of getting out of hand, but I suppose that is what it is. And I don't really have any way to pump that out as of right now. If I wanted to get polluted water out of this system, I would need to drain it. I think right over here is a good spot. So let me just go ahead and take care of that. Ah! Stop it! Mop it all up! Another thing that has changed here is the time of day sensor. So it gives you an activation time and then how much of that day, percentage-wise, you want it to be active. So I've had to modify that a little bit right there, but it still works about the same way. Okay, so one thing that I've noticed now is that my flow of polluted water into this metal refinery is actually kind of low. I mean, it's being supplied, but it's kind of not being supplied all that quickly as it's coming from this carbon skimmer. Now, this carbon skimmer is drawing in a lot of carbon dioxide from this entire area over here. I mean, there's just loads and loads of carbon dioxide. Looking at, we got 11.2 kilograms over there. Tons and tons of carbon dioxide. So this thing's going to be running quite a bit. And it is moving at 1,000 grams a second, or at least I believe that's what it's running at. Let's take a closer look here. Yep. Okay, so 1,000 grams a second is how quickly that carbon skimmer is, sucking down this carbon dioxide. So, my best bet is to crank that up for the short term so that I can make more metal, and the metal that I need to get those access points, because right now that is my limiting factor, which is how much polluted water I can actually pump to that thing. So I'm going to bump up the production there a little bit. So in the last Megabase challenge, we talked about a couple things. We talked about some potential things that could be found in the game. However, none of those actually found their way into the game with this latest update. Nobody really saw the tube thing coming, at least from our perspective, at least with the files in there. But it's interesting to see some of the ideas that were actually potentially a part of the game at some point. But there's also some other things, such as, like, you guys noticed that the flute fish is actually in the title screen, floating around in the background there in a tank. So that's kind of cool. So it's been there all along, so that's pretty neat. Here was another comment here by Evan448, says, I wish the coal reactors were more realistic in ways of like boiling water to actually make steam and then let that kind of move turbines to actually generate power. That actually brought up an idea that I was testing. However, the video ended up so complicated, even though the concept is very, very simple, because I could not really explain it. So what it was, and I'll probably explore this here sometime in the future, but essentially what I was doing is using the metal refinery and a coal generator and then a carbon skimmer and connected those all together so that the carbon skimmer is actually reducing the heat inside of that chamber to then continuously produce more and more metal. Now, that actually works, even though it shouldn't, because at some point it becomes heat soaked. And there were some crazy little things that were going on that could only be possible, you know, with this game and some of its kind of quirks to have that actually work. And that's what made it so very complicated to actually explain. However, I think that'll be a cool video at some point as far as a future idea for another experiment. However, if you get the main concept, you can go start playing with it and have some fun with that. Looks like this here should be up and running pretty soon. Gonna take care of that. Get that stuff built up. Unreachable, come on. Get up there, duplicates. It's so nice to have a decent frame rate now. Frame rate now. So as far as areas that I would want to have tube access, you know, in order to get in and out of, one, this mealwood farm is going to be a great place to get access to for two reasons. One, I don't want to have anything else besides carbon dioxide inside of here, and it's a great area to store a lot of my food. The other thing is right down over here, this area where I have all this cold biome and then polluted water for whatever reason. This is an area over here where I'd like to be able to get to simply because it's so far away. And the second reason is that I should have sleet wheat planted inside of here, which I should really just start doing. So let's get some of that planted up. And this will be a great area to grow a lot of food. One of the primary foods I would like to make is that new plant that we have, which is the berry sludge right there. Its quality actually is -1, which really isn't that bad when you compare it to the lice loaf, and then especially compared to the mush bar. However, and the main thing is that it doesn't go bad. At least it shouldn't go bad, because it has an exceptionally long shelf life. And I haven't seen any patch notes here, as per the patch notes that I read over on this area here, that says that they changed anything regarding that. There is some stuff that's been tweaked, but for the most part, nothing's really changed there. So you can see right down here, the metal refinery, the thing that it's waiting for is 400 kilograms of liquid, which is quite a lot of liquid, especially when you consider that the inlet temperature here is roughly 50 degrees Celsius, and the outlet temperature is at 70 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's a fair amount of thermal energy that's been produced by this guy. You can do a lot with it, make a lot of steam or whatever you want it to make. So we'll definitely look at this some more in the future, because you can make natural gas out of this thing if you kind of, you know, hack it a little bit. I don't know. It's a pretty neat chunk of equipment, and we can go a long ways with just that piece. So the other thing I wanted to add to this is a shower. Kind of a access for the other duplicates that don't have access to the shower. And the reason I want to add this is because I want to increase the amount of polluted water that I have available to that piece of equipment. So I'm just going to pipe over some nice hot water and then pump the polluted water out of here so that it finds its way back down here to the bottom. Duplicates love to take showers, and nice long showers, so that should produce quite a bit of polluted water. So one of the other things that you guys have really been enjoying here recently is my latest challenge with the 3-printer challenge, and I think that's a pretty fun idea. So I get 1 duplicate per cycle. However, I get them at a rate of 3 duplicates every 3 cycles. So it's not just like 1 duplicate every single cycle. So you don't get that constant buff. However, that might be a better way to do it. But it's a pretty cool challenge, and I look forward to exploring more on that, but you guys have been super supportive on that. The one thing that has been challenging here recently on YouTube is the whole adpocalypse thing. Unfortunately, like a video like this, I had it uploaded, but then by the time it went live, it had actually been pulled for being non-approvable for YouTube advertisements, had to manually review it, blah, 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 blah. So it almost takes 48 hours at this point, from the point where I start uploading it to the point where it can actually be approved for monetization. Now, it's not that I necessarily need the money, because I work my day job and all of that fun stuff, and that supports everything I do in my life. However, when you do spend 15-20 hours making YouTube content, and for the idea of potentially where I'd like this channel to go in the future, obviously monetization is part of that whole formula, and that's kind of an annoying challenge, because the way my content works is that it's active between what you guys say And then you see that in the next video, which hopefully is not too far and few in between. So one of the announcements that I have here at the end of the video, which I actually pulled from that last video because I have some different ideas. One, I made a Patreon page. I don't really have any goals because I don't really like the idea of putting things behind paywalls, essentially. The other thing is like a PayPal pool for the people. I mean, there's certain people that have just been asking for me to make a Patreon, so that's kind of the reason I started making it. But I don't know. I'm not so sure that's the right way to go about it because I like interactivity in my videos a lot more than that stuff. So I almost thought of maybe making a system that's a bit like live streaming systems where they have, you know, different names and stuff that could pop up on the screen for people who want to do that thing. So I don't know. I'd like to hear from you guys what you want, if you even want anything at all. I mean, if you just simply don't want any of that to exist, then, you know, let me know as well, because obviously there are reasons, but it's a two-way street between you and me, and I want to understand what that is. At any rate, that's something that all of us creators are dealing with here on YouTube, and I can understand why YouTube is doing what they're doing, but hopefully they build a system to where they can whitelist channels like ours, which are simply not part of the problem. Alright, so focusing back on what I need to do over here, I'm going to use a hydro sensor. I'm going to plug it into this little liquid pump here so that I can do its thing, and we can start to clear this out because right now it's having problems. Alright, so we'll build that up, kind of drop down that level of polluted water so that I can re-enable this bottle emptier and get some of this polluted water out of this area. So looking back at the heavy conductive wire, the last area that I need to plug in is right here, so hopefully I have enough. Come on! Yes! I've reached the end of the line! Finally! It took a long time to replace all these wires around here. This system down here with the whole automation of the natural gas generators is working really good. See how that turned off? And it turned off like right when these batteries pretty much reached full. Glad to see that that is working and continuing to work in the new update. I'm dropping the temperature down on this crude oil. Yeah, making nice progress there. Maybe I'll set this at 40. I do need more plastic, but right now we are getting plastic. It's not incredibly slow. They did reduce the amount of plastic you need in order to make ladders and the tubes. It's now like 50% of what it was beforehand. What am I running water? Where's that water going? What are you doing? This stuff requires water now? Oh, man. I did not see that. Why does sleet wheat that lives in a temperature of negative 55 to 5 degrees Celsius use water? Gosh, what a massive time sink this is. Okay. Not to mention domestic growth life. Oh man, it's 20 cycles. Alright. That's got to be set up a lot differently. I didn't notice that they changed all of that. That's pretty rough. It's not a big deal if you're kind of melting the ice around it and kind of using that, but that's clean water, not polluted water. Usually you only get like polluted water from melt. So I'll have a couple of these enabled, and that'll be it. But I'm gonna have to re-strategize this whole layout and everything that's going on over here. Because that's all different from the last time I dealt with it. I do have to build a bristleberry farm. I'm not at that point though. I think that'll probably be built somewhere in this area. This door here is going to move down once I get there. Right now it let out all of that carbon dioxide, which I don't want to do. Okay, so now do I have the opposite problem? Where I simply have too much, like, polluted water that I can't suck up and actually use? I probably do have that problem. That and all of this water that's coming from over here and flowing down, for whatever reason, has carbon dioxide inside of a liquid pipe? What? How does that even work? And it's at like a 40-some degrees Celsius. The mysteries of what's going on down here. It's very mysterious sometimes. Antonio says, I just have to say, I love this guy. He makes me laugh at freaking all the clappers he makes, and he's not bad at the game. Smug face. I hope you get all of the exposure you deserve, and you make up more awesome content and all of that good stuff. Keep it up. So thank you, Antonio, and thank you to all of you guys that have been supporting this content throughout this entire process here of Oxygen Not Included, and even beyond that, to all of the series beforehand. I just want to say thank you so much, because this channel just hit 40,000 subscribers as of just a couple of days ago, and it's really picking up here recently, so absolutely awesome. Thank you guys for all of your support, and hopefully this continues to just keep going and going. I've got a lot of other things that I'd like to cover here. A couple of announcements. I guess we already mentioned one of the things on one end, but over the Christmas break here, I hope to kind of plan out a kind of community-involved 3D printer that we'll actually be building together. A different one than the one I was talking about previously. This is going to be a very large Delta printer. One of the ideas is that I always wanted to have an idea as far as just like the most simple large printer that you could make, and after weighing out all of the different options, the Delta style simply requires the least amount of parts. So we'll actually explore that and kind of hopefully work through a phased series of like innovations. So hopefully over the Christmas break here, even though I only have a couple of days off, and I have a humongous amount of work that we have been doing here recently at my job, I still want to kind of cover that and just like build it, and it'll be pretty awesome. So I've already got that in the works, got parts coming, and we'll cover that here in the future. So look forward to that probably starting end of this year, beginning of next year as a 2018 thing that builds onto this channel. That'll be pretty cool, because it'll be similar to what we do here, but in real life. I've also got some fun things that I can actually connect to Oxygen Not Included and 3D print them in the real world and share those models and all that stuff. All of that stuff being ideas that could potentially plug into the whole Patreon thing. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the paywall things. Anyhow, I want enough metal to make the iron. Just make it, duplicants. Use the showers. Use the bathrooms. I've plugged in the sinks. Everybody's got the lavatories here. Come on, pollute it up. Actually, it looks like I have tons and tons of polluted water. Crap! Use up the polluted water. It's the only thing that's being fed down here. Man, the struggles. So now I've generated enough polluted water. As a matter of fact, I've generated too much polluted water. Okay. Well, that quickly filled up. We can go ahead and disable a couple of those. What do I do now? Fertilizer synthesizers and the water that I get out of this unit. I'm generating water from the plastic production faster than I can consume it down here. Do I need a liquid compressor at this point? Maybe. Or maybe I just do this number and make an even more confusing liquid system, because I haven't stuffed enough pipes down here yet. I'm surprised the game is running as well as it is with all of the liquid pipes I have down here. Here we go. Yep. That'll just go up there, which seems like the right idea. Why didn't I make that in the first place? Because it all heads down that direction anyhow. Oh well, the things you think of a little bit too late. Oh, you know what I could do? I could feed all of this to like electrolyzers and just kind of get a hydrogen and oxygen power production plant, or a hydrogen production plant, where I just store loads and loads of oxygen. Or maybe I just bring in a lot more duplicants. I could do that. We covered that in an experiment video a while ago. That would fit in the megabase challenge. The one thing about this transit tube access point is that it draws a high wattage. So suddenly that could really blow up a lot of wires. We're gonna have to be careful how we use that. Luckily down here I do have another power transformer that's drawing off of all of that you know, juicy power we have down there on the bottom. And I could plug in a heavy watt wire and then kind of string off of that to my access points. And if I kind of weigh out the averages, I could do a couple of those off of one of these. But that is a lot more wire than I need to get all the way up there. But then again, I still have to kind of get over there anyhow. The real question is, does this current, or does this wire ever really get to the point where it's over 1,000 watts? It's awfully close. Especially when you consider that I want to take one from here back out, or one down here and back out. So it is probably the right idea to make some more metal and have that run over here, and then up to these guys to fill them up. So I can just deconstruct these buildings. I don't need those anymore. And honestly, I could move this gas pump away and then bring that tube right down here to the access point. Just go ahead and get rid of that coal generator. I don't need that anymore. This has no reason to run right now because the temperatures are still good in here. Alright, so I'll put this gas pump and I'll put it right here. And I will want to use a gas filter at this point. And I only want carbon dioxide to go up and through the cooling loop. Everything else is going to get pumped out. That way I can cleanse what air is inside of here, or what gas. Technically air. So that'll come out over there with a high pressure vent. There we go. That door ultimately will be down here. Not now, but it will be there. So I still maintain the ability at this point to flip between the two valves. I made sure to keep this an option. So I have polluted water that's running through here right now. And then if I wanted to do just the oil again, all I'd have to do is flip these valves, kind of let it purge its way out. Which means I can get back to oil if I wanted to start making more metal at this point. But I've run into a problem. So my liquid pipes, they have gone back to being very confused. I can understand why. No, is it still confused? The madness of all these pipes. That should fix my problem. It was going up this way, which actually makes sense why it would do that. Not that all of this makes sense. Alright, let's mop up all of this stuff. Just trying to clean everything back up and get it working again. Okay, liquid flows up. But why doesn't it flow this way? That's why we need that one liquid pipe that has like the two inputs with the one output. Because I think what I have to use here is a bridge so that it's a one-way direction thing and the game can understand what it's doing. Alright, so I'm going to try to switch this back over to the crude oil. Because right now, I'm kind of saturated with all this polluted water. It's too much. It's everywhere. Alright, so this gas filter is in the wrong spot. I can't really make it work right there because I gotta get that tube right through that same area. So I have to reorganize that a little bit to make it actually work. So we'll just get rid of this stuff. And that'll take care of it. We'll put the pump over there and everything. Alright, so I can pump out that way. And filter in like that. Okay, that'll work. It's not pretty, but it's functional. Plastic tube. What? Oops, I picked tile. No, no, no. Stop. Stop. Deconstruct. I want transit tubes. There we go. Yeah, much better. I also want a transit tube right there. That'll be useful. And eventually one right here as well. Which means this gas valve, which is no longer needed, that'll have to get out of the way too. So we'll bring this transit tube over here. I'm going to deconstruct that. And then I'm just going to put a tube crossing point right there. Then I'll have to get rid of this ladder and put the transit tube across once I'm actually ready for that. Ooh, I'm getting pretty close with the iron too. Right there. Okay, so once all of the liquid drains out of here, I can then switch back on over to oil. And then hopefully produce quite a bit of, you know, refined iron ore at that point. I suppose one resource I could just put inside of here? Nah, carbon dioxide's the right way to go. Just leave it carbon dioxide. Don't worry about it. So I'll hook this one up. I now have a new thermal sensor and I'll run an automation wire. Well, from right over here to there. So we'll get this one hooked up so that I can keep the temperature correct inside of this area and filter it all at the same time. This also means, ooh, I don't quite have enough iron yet to make another access point. 800 is quite a lot. But I'm kind of running a rock granulator a little bit right here just to get some more. What can I say? I'm a little bit impatient. There we go. Yeah. Boom. Place it down. I'm going to move this door over here. So I can get rid of that one. I can kind of build in the rest of the stuff over in this spot. That way I can put the access point, whoops, right here. What did I accidentally hit? Still recording. That's good. So as long as this is above 30 degrees Celsius, actually let's just say 27, it'll run. So that'll happen and it'll filter everything out. And eventually carbon dioxide will find its way up through this guy and get cooled down, right? And if I look at the power, I'm not drawing too much, so that's good. Let's just leave this thing on for a while. We'll just set it way down. So I've got a lot of this carbon dioxide up here that's coming from this power plant up here, these natural gas generators. So I can actually use that to kind of increase the pressure inside of here. And all I have to do is actually make a gas, high pressure gas vent, which I'm not going to do right now. I'm actually just going to leave it off until I've sealed this area off. And I suppose I can do that right now by not even letting them go in there. Although I have a good reason to go in and out yet. Okay, it looks like I have all of the polluted water taken care of, so I can start to fill it. And that means the other output over here, I want it to run back into the tube as well. Let's just make sure I don't have any. 0. Alright, so this thing is up and running again, so I'll get a lot more iron out of it. Oh no, why is polluted water? I thought I cleared all that out. How did any of that make it over there? Oh crap, and how did polluted water... crap. I guess I forgot to close that. Now I gotta deconstruct this and figure out how to get all of this liquid out before it runs and destroys all of my fertilizer makers. Whoops, made a mistake. Great, now I've got polluted oxygen in here. I don't even know how to get rid of that. Well, first problem, what I could do is just let this flow back out and then flip this bridge so it goes in and out that direction. So I can get this crude oil sucked out of that tube. That's an easy enough problem to solve. But how to get the polluted water from here? Okay, so what I can do is if I deconstruct this building here like that, I should be able to get a duplicate inside of there, and they should be able to mop up that top level thing, and at least polluted water is at that level. And to the flip side of that, I can actually put in a liquid bottler and debottle stuff inside of this area. That also means I might be able to sweep up the stuff that's inside of here as well. Okay, so if I try to mop that, I just end up mopping everything, creating one giant bottle. Okay, so what if I use the liquid pipe Come on now. And then I drip it over on this area. Great, now you're gonna tell me this is unreachable. Yes, of course you are. That's a problem. So let's see if this will allow me to shift that polluted water from one side to the other. And the survey says no. I've only got a little bit of polluted water left right there in the middle. Okay, so I want to build this back up, but I think one thing I am going to have over here is a bottle emptier. That should allow me to drip down like that. So I guess while I'm in here doing more work, I'm going to get rid of this back plate. I'm going to put something a little bit different behind there. Not diamond, but I'll actually put in tungsten, I think, for the background. So for the thermal shift plate, yeah, tungsten. And I'll just do this number. Okay, so one thing I noticed over here is that once I drop down this a little bit, this gas up here is really starting to circulate a bit more. I kind of like that. I'm going to take some wolframite, and I'm just going to kind of link these two areas together. And I don't think I'm going to bring this plastic tile up any more than where it is right now. So it's actually a little bit lower than it was. What if we put a plastic tile right here? I'm just trying to get rid of that one little bit of polluted water. Aha! That worked! Look! A little bit of polluted water. Bam! Nailed it! And while I'm at it, I can sweep up this plastic down here. Get that out of there. That way I can bring the temperature inside of here up a lot more than what it was before. You know, all of this stuff. Means I can also deconstruct that plastic tile because it doesn't need to be there. Might have ended up better overall from this little bit of, you know, a mistake. So if we take a look at the temperatures here, it's evened out a little bit more now that I've added the thermal shift plates. Overall, it's actually a nice low temperature. It's just working good. Seems like 3 tiles up here is a good idea. Lets more stuff flow. Might also have something to do with the reduction of just how much hydrogen is in this area. Alright, so while all of that madness was going on, I now have a third transit tube access point that I can put in. And that'll be over here for all the slime that needs to go between here and right on over here. And I'll have to work this tube a little bit so that it comes out and goes right back down in this spot. So a little bit of reworking of stuff, but you know what? It's all a work in progress. I've run out of storage space. Okay. Then fine, we'll just put plastic up here. At least it has somewhere to go. The amount of storage lockers I need, it's ridiculous. Oh, so here's some good news. All I have over here now is carbon dioxide. So that's been purified, or fairly purified. The door does open every once in a while, and usually that pump seems to be picking it back up and chucking it back out on the other side of the door. And it's down to a pretty good temperature inside of here, so that's working out real good. Here's another idea that I just thought of when I saw a duplicate inside of here eating, is that I could potentially put, you know, this room right here, which is where we have, oh no, sorry, where I have the mess hall. We could potentially connect the mess hall to this. Even though it's carbon dioxide, the fact that everybody has exosuits on means that they wouldn't have to leave this area just to go and eat. I don't know. I don't know if I'll pursue that one, but it is something that could potentially happen. Or maybe I just have an exit point for the tube that is, once it goes out over here, it goes up and, you know, drops them off up here. Because that would make sense. You know, instead of dropping them off here and then running up to it. Okay, so it looks like I have the Wheezewort cooling loop back up and running and potentially in the, you know, better than ever. So that's pretty cool. Still, we have 2 kilograms down here at the bottom, 4 kilograms up here at the top, so it's a little bit less than what I had before. But it seems like it's working out real good. Take a look at the temperatures. It's fairly reasonable. And I'm making a lot of iron now, so that's good. Alrighty, so things are in motion here. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little episode here of Oxygen Not Included. I'm liking the new Tubular Upgrade, and I really look forward to actually getting it up and running and having my duplicates zoom all over the map. That'll be real fun. We also got some other things that we can work on and solve, and other machines that we can start incorporating into this base. I'm all looking forward to all of that. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and you know what, maybe enjoyed it, or whatever. And if I've earned your subscription, then thank you so much for that. Have a great day, guys. Stay awesome. Peace. Brothgar out.